Velina mai kako. Welcome to Keep It Aloha, a podcast that keeps aloha by growing kalo in the back roads of Waimanalo. I'm your host Kamaka, and I gotta say, our guest today puts the āina in sustainability. If you don't understand that, write it out, and you'll see what I'm saying. I can't wait to talk stories with him, but before we introduce him, guess what time it is? It's time for another Hawaii Theater giveaway. Every other week, we give away 2 tickets to the Hawaii Theater, and all you have to do is listen to this episode today when it comes out on Thursday, and head over to our Instagram and answer trivia on our live stream on Friday for your chance to win 2 tickets to any Hawaii Theater show. They got tons of great shows coming up, so head to their website right now, hawaiitheater.com, to check them out. Congrats to our latest winner, Matthew Erickson. Alright, I think it's time to introduce our awesome guest for today. The Keep It Aloha podcast is brought to you by Lion Coffee, officially Hawaii's favorite local coffee. They've been supporting us, and now it's our time to support them, so we need your help to keep it going. Star Advertisers Hawaii Best 2025 nomination round is here, and we need your help to nominate Lion Coffee in the Best Local Coffee category once again. From March 26th through April 22nd, you can submit your printed ballots or vote online at staradvertiser.com/Hawaii's Best 2025. Vote Lion Coffee, Hawaii's best local coffee today. Mahalo for your support. Our guest today is an organic farmer and musician from the island of Oahu. He's also a yoga practitioner and surfer who is raising his family in the back roads of Waimanalo. His music has reached millions around the world who are also committed to a simple, clean, and healthy land-based lifestyle. From 2005 to 2013, he was the lead singer / harmonica / percussion player for a local Hawaiian band called Pressure Drop, winners of the 2010 Mai Tai Rumble. This father of 2 has 6 full-length albums out, and his love for music grows just like his garden. With his partner, he created Yogarden, a regenerative organic farm offering volunteer days every Thursday. I'm so stoked to talk stories with him today. His name is Paul Izak. Aloha, Paul. Welcome to the Keep It Aloha podcast. How you doing?
Good, Kamaka. Mahalo for having me. Stoked to be here.
Yeah, I'm stoked that you're here. Regenerative. Organic. That's hard to say.
Yeah, right.
Regenerative organic. I feel like you kind of gotta rap it or something.
Yeah.
Regenerative.
That's kind of what my music's about, you know, learning how to say those syllables.
Yeah, and you're so great at it. It was so cool because we met maybe a month ago, at that CRB event that Daniel Anthony put on. But I've been listening to your music since 2019. My friend Ashton Obrero.
Brother.
He took us to one of your concerts at Hawaiian Brian's in 2019 awesome. When I got back from the Peace Corps. It was one of the first concerts I've been to since coming back to Hawaii. And it was so amazing. I got a couple of your songs on my playlist on Spotify. I think Keikio Āina, Olai Kawai, Always Love, a couple of those. And for the longest time, I think it's Keikio Āina, you said Mana ai mahalo for the paia. I never knew you were talking about that.
Just the inspiration I got at that time period, you know?
Yeah,
it was crucial. We were going there, we were pounding with Daniel and his ohana at that time, and it was like, that's where that song originated from.
Yeah, it only clicked in my head when we were at that event. Yeah, because I was like, oh, he's no Mana ai.
Because I had to sing it at that event.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, I just finally clicked in my head. Because I didn't know Daniel before. He was on my podcast in 2023, right. I think. So yeah, it's one of those moments that you're just like, it just
full circle moments. I love it.
Yeah, but super stoked to have you in here. I love the stuff that you're doing. I would love for our audience to get to know more about what you're doing and all the cool things that's happening, at your farm, your Yogarden, all of it. So we'll get into all of that, but I'd like to start at the beginning. Where are you from? Where you grad? And what was it like growing up?
Sure, yeah. So born and raised here in Oahu. Grew up in Kailua. It's Kailua, Kaneohe. My parents are actually living in Kaneohe right now. And my grandparents are in Kailua. But grew up, did Aikai Elementary, Kailua Intermediate School, went to Kalaheo for high school, and loved the lifestyle growing up here. Really ocean oriented. For me, my family owned a deli in Kailua, so it was like, that was like the centerpiece of our life, like to and from the beach, the deli, grandma's house, our house. But really the deli was like kind of life's sanctuary at that time in life. Because my dad actually, he got married, had a child, myself, and he took over this deli called Gia Deli in 1985. Dang. So if you were late 80s into the 90s, early 2000s, chances are you had a deli sandwich from my dad at Gia Deli. And yeah, it was just a great lifestyle and space to grow up in. Skateboarding all around Kailua, you know, the Kailua Shore Break right there, Kalama Beach Park, learning to surf. Yeah, grateful for that.
Yeah. So while you were going to school and growing up, were you into music back then, or were you into like sports? What was your main passion?
Totally, great question. Definitely both sports and music. For me in Aikahi, there was an amazing program that was created, basically choir, that was allowing me to find my voice. And Judy Willis, she was such an amazing teacher to me at that time, because I was getting like little solos to sing within the choirs and discovering that I like wanted to sing, discovering my own voice, but typically singing other people's things, you know. And by the time I was 5th grade, 6th grade, I think I started doing Elvis impersonations. They discovered like I had this passion for, oh, thank you very much. Like this kind of Elvis. And I loved the music at the time. I was kind of, they would call me an oldies kid. I liked listening to old school music. My dad's a classic rock guy, so I would listen to like all that type of music back then. So yeah, I started singing and started doing more choir, started doing more theater type things. Like I did Elvis, Jerry Lee Lewis, Neil Diamond, some classic ones. Started acting a little bit as well. But at the same time, I was also doing a lot of sports. So there was also like soccer. I was doing the AOSO, Little League, Kainala Little League. Yeah, and then surfing when I had spare time.
Yeah. And since your family had that deli business, did you have to work for them as well?
Oh yeah. You gotta, you know, home, you know, family business. You gotta get put to work. So I was like, usually they put me on the register.
Oh, okay.
Which I became, you know, in that type of environment, you got to be a people person, you know, learn to connect. And I love connecting with people as they came in. It was cool. My dad taught me the register. And I would make sandwiches too, but my dad was on the slicer like all day. That was his thing, just cutting meats.
Dang.
Yeah.
So when you were doing all of this, what did you want to do when you got older?
Yeah, you know, I didn't want to like work in a deli. I wasn't necessarily wanting to take on that role, but I think back then I had aspirations for being an actor. It was like, now that I'm thinking back to it, I was like, I really wanted to act, you know, I wanted to like put myself out there. I loved singing. At the time I started getting into photography and film. And so like, yeah, these passions of like, oh, what do I want to do? And actually in high school, I took the ComAcad. They had a communications academy, and I was learning more film and videography. And that's what I ended up going to college for. My first time really leaving Hawaii was going to Portland, Oregon, and Forest Grove, right down from Portland, going to school there for just a year.
Okay, and then you were learning film, or
at that time it was mainly for film. Really, it was like that was kind of what I thought I wanted to do, and I hadn't really left the island, so it was like, okay, I'll go dorm life and kind of see if this is what I want to do. But yes, it was film oriented at the time. And at that time, you know, you go to college, you know, it's a lot of experimental time of like, who am I, trying to find yourself. And that's when I really started to pick up a guitar. That's when I started to like play more of my own music, see what wanted to come through. I'd never experienced a winter where you're like not necessarily, you're like super cold when you go outside. So I was like, oh, like I remember the first time it started snowing, like this light snow that would melt in your hand. All the Hawaiians are outside, just like, what? You know? Everyone's
looking at you like, yeah, look at the Hawaii.
Snow. This is melting in our hands. But yeah, it was a good time period for reflection on what it is that I really wanted to do. And I discovered that, you know, I had a deepening passion for music. And when you find your own voice compared to playing someone else's stuff or singing someone else's song, there's such a deeper connection to what you're sharing. Like, oh, what is it? All of a sudden you discover your voice, you know, what is it I want to share? What makes me feel good? And when I wasn't, you know, surfing, or doing things because I was inside a dorm room, very cold. I just played more guitar and started like exploring that side more.
Yeah, and I think these days there's so little opportunities like that for kids growing up because of all the things that we have, like phones, iPads, video games, right? So you don't have the time to just sit with yourself and figure out like what you want to do. You know, how many people can just sit alone in their room for an hour and just not touch their phone?
Nowadays we have that.
Yeah, exactly.
So like attention grabber.
Yeah, because I know what you're talking about when you found your voice and you kind of just was able to just pick up guitar and do stuff to kind of find yourself. Because when I was in the Peace Corps, we didn't have Wi-Fi, we didn't have running water, nothing. I would just sit in my house and just think about life. And you know, I got a dartboard, I would play darts, I picked up guitar as well, and all these things that you just never would really do back home in this society with all the technology that we have.
They say so-called like boredom can actually lead to like creative energy. You're like, well, I gotta find something to do, right?
Exactly.
You know? And I think having that space to like figure out the creative elements within ourselves of like what really is calling me and what do I have passion for to be creative with. And yeah, to have that space in the dorm room to just be like, oh, I'm gonna pick up the guitar. And then I'm realizing like, whoa, this is something I think I'm going to do for the rest of my life.
Nice. So we can thank boredom for your career then.
There you go. Because I'm definitely not bored anymore. I got lots to do.
Yeah, I know.
But it started from
It's so interesting hearing your life story because the things that you mentioned would be the last things I would think that you were into. Just from what I see on social media, seeing your life now, just playing music, organic farming, you know. You got the whole like, I live off the āina look, everything. Like you look like you just came back from the Peace Corps, you know?
I love it.
Like this is how people imagine me when I was in the Peace Corps, you know?
Classic.
But I loved being away and like disconnecting from everything. It helped me reconnect with myself and others. So how did you end up, I guess, getting into, I guess we'll start with your music career because that will probably lead into everything else, right?
Totally. And what you're saying too, like a lot of people don't know that side of me that earlier, unless you like grew up with me or you know me from those times. But I feel like I have two different like big chapters of life, basically up until that point of I came back after that year away in Oregon because I realized like, oh, you know, Hawaii is where I want to be, and had already like built a lifestyle around that. But it was good to be away. But when I came back, because I had been marinating in that musical energy and trying to discover myself in that way, it was also, you know, figuring out what styles of music, you know, and even in high school, I started listening to more reggae. I started to really feel connected to Bob Marley's energy of redemption music, songs of freedom, you know, this positive vibration type music, you know, it's like sense of self-liberation and freedom when you sing that, when you chant it. I'll never forget, you know, walking in high school, telling a good friend, like, I want to be a reggae singer one time. He's like, no way, you can't be a reggae singer. And then taking that and being like, yeah, I can. I think I'm going to do that. And, you know, when I came back after that trip, reggae started to become a little more prominent at that time towards what was coming through. And I was able to link up with some friends, Keith Sukumaki, who's now the keyboardist in Mike Love's band, and plays all around Oahu. But we started jamming together, and he had already been jamming with these guys. Also went to Kalaheo. I think they called themselves the Jazz Band at that point, but that became Pressure Drop because I started to come around. You know, I had a Volkswagen bus at the time with camper top, and we would cruise around Kailua, and we just park boat ramps. And we would just play songs. And that was a very liberating time for me to like continue songwriting, but with others. Because Keith's an epic songwriter. He was doing music. Matt Britton was just an amazing guitar player. Rolo at that time, he was also writing songs. So between the three of us at that time, it started to become, you know, a band. And we started to, I think we played, just a backyard show was one of our first shows. And that's kind of like where it started, was like just started jamming. Even before that, I had a group that I was playing with just to get started. I would freestyle a lot and just close my eyes, you know, just like just be in that energy. more like reggae freestyle.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then just connections with people, and that's where eventually Pressure Drop formed. And we were together for several years, which had different iterations of people kind of coming and going.
Yeah. It's cool that hearing that, because when I listen to your music, it gives me that positive vibe.
Yeah.
Like, every single song is very happy and it makes me feel good. And so what you're doing is reaching people like me, the audience, and it's making us feel positive. And I think of myself as a very positive person. I'm guessing because you write that stuff, you must be a positive person, right? Are you an optimist, or what? Does that come from, I don't know, your childhood of like being just like happy all the time, or is it something that you have to like, dig into?
That's a good one, because there's been, a couple decades of writing music at this point, and I consider myself a positive person, an optimistic person. But I will say I definitely balance light and dark within myself. I can be my worst critic. I can have the self-doubts that come in. And for me, music also became that refuge to keep me in the positive. So it's like if I was feeling down, I would go to the guitar, I would go to my songwriting to kind of lift my spirits again. And like, what do I want to chant for my highest self in this moment? Because I'm feeling down, So sometimes it comes from that space. And sometimes it also comes from pure joy, just like being in the moment, just like, yes. So it's both. And I think it's important to be real with ourselves in that. And I like to kind of see where the music wants to take me, but ultimately I like to leave on a positive note.
Yeah, it's cool because we're thinking, oh yeah, he's sharing this music and it's uplifting our spirits, but you're doing it to uplift your spirit as well, So it's like almost therapy for you.
Totally.
I feel the same when I do this podcast, is that we're just having conversations, but a lot of times it's just therapy for me to talk about these things that I want to talk about, connect with other people, and just have like a good solid 2 hours where I can just be free of all the other distractions.
I love that.
Yeah.
And that's really what music should be about, I think, too, is like, we do it for our growth. And then if we can share it, like you're sharing your podcast, and it's, influencing other people and how they might view things. And that's where music is too. It's when you put that energy out there, all of a sudden people can take and interpret what they want with song or with whatever words are shared, to relate that to their own life, their own growth, hopefully.
Cool.
Yeah.
So at what point did you know that music was going to be a career?
Yeah, I feel like at that point when I first started, jamming with Pressure Drop and the guys, and I started writing more of my own music too, because that group was more strictly roots reggae, which I loved, and I loved being in that energy of roots. But I started writing a lot of other type of music. So right now I consider my music like a folky, bluesy, rocky reggae. It's like I kind of just blend it with how I'm feeling, and, based on, I had inspirations like Jack Johnson and Ben Harper, along with, the Gladiators, Clinton Farron and Toots and the Maytals. So it was like, and then you also have the classic rock side. Like I absolutely loved Led Zeppelin and, Motown, deep blues stuff. My uncle was a harmonica player and basically taught me harp. And actually in that sense, I got to shout out Boogie Dion Scott, who would do at Muddy Waters in Kailua. He would basically he's an amazing blues player, and he would jam every Friday night. And I would go down there and I'd listen to the blues, And that was like how I'd like to spend my Friday nights when I was 16 years old. And at that point, my uncle was teaching me harmonica. And every once in a while I'd sit in, Boogie would invite me to come sit in, And it's epic because, Messiah Scott, the Mad King, who I now jam with, at certain times when we're doing concerts, that he was like 8 years old running around. Boogie's his dad, right? So it's cool to like now be working with both of them. And they both just had a concert together in Maui. So it's cool, like these inspirations we have, the inspirations I had growing up musically to kind of create my own unique style.
Yeah, totally. Because I can hear the inspiration from those other people that you mentioned and those certain genres.
Yeah.
Folkloric, indie, blue, reggae.
Folky, bluesy, rock.
I tried to put it into one word.
Love it.
But When I was listening to your music the other day, I was just driving and I was like, oh man, you should do a collab with Jack Johnson because
Yeah, I love that.
I was hearing some Jack Johnson. I was like, if Jack Johnson was like had more of like a reggae, bluesy, like kind of sound, I was like, it would be you.
I'd love to collaborate with Jack.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were playing a fundraiser one time and I was jamming and it was so epic. Jack actually came up to me. He was like, hey, Paul, can I borrow your guitar? I was like, yeah, sure, Jack. Yeah, no problem. It was such a sweet connection right there.
Yeah, and you both do āina work, or he has the
Kokua Hawaii
Hawaii
Foundation.
Foundation. So yeah, maybe like a little collab, āina
Let's
jam
manifest it. I love
session.
it.
Yeah, let's do it. I'll be there.
Nice.
Okay, so you were doing music. I mean, you've been doing music for a really long time. You've
Yeah.
touched so many souls. At what point did you decide to get into the āina side of it?
So after I came back from college, that first run, I started. So actually, at that time, my father's business caught fire. So the deli ended up. Basically, there was an electrical fire.
Mhm.
The whole deli ended up basically melting, not completely in flames, but our family had to move on from the family business that I was like raised in, which kind of at that time was like, oh, because I had just moved back home. I was trying to figure out what my next steps were. All of a sudden, there was this sense of like, okay, what is my next chapter? And I decided not to do school anymore, and I decided to go out on the road. I went Mexico, Canada by myself, backpacked, and I learned a lot on that journey, like school of life journey, where you're talking to people. You're really, like we have been talking about, when you're with yourself and able to make your own decisions, like figure out what you want to do. All of a sudden, the path starts to become more clear, and you kind of surrender to the universe plan for you, in the sense of like, oh, here's the next connection, boom, to the next ride, to the next place. And when I came home from that, I had this longing to connect with the earth more in some way. And I decided to start landscaping. And it started as just, ornamentals, landscaping. I actually went to the island of Lanai and did landscaping over in Manele. But over there, I was like working on these homes for people who weren't in the homes very long. And I was doing more maintenance type stuff, watering grass and doing things that was connection to the earth, but felt very disconnected at the same time. And I realized, like, for me, it wasn't the maintenance type things that I wanted to do. I started learning more about farms at that time. And when I came back home to Oahu, I realized, like, I'm going to have to seek this out, because I wasn't raised with that mentality of like connection to food, with my father's deli. All the meats were shipped in boxes from San Francisco, I think. All the farming goods came from somewhere, I had no connection to that. I had very little connection at that point to where my food was coming from, other than, Tutu next door who grew, orange tree, or the avocados that my dad would get from the uncles who would come sell those to him at the deli. And I think we had a mango tree in the backyard that was eventually cut down because it wasn't producing fruit. There was just little kind of connection at that point. And I think I was longing for that, and not even knowing what I was in search of at that point, but like very curious about like, what does it mean to grow food? How do I start doing that? So at that point, I was actually living in Kaneohe. My parents lived up the hill, and my grandmother had a house right on the Bay Drive there. And she had passed away several years before, and I ended up moving into the house with my father. And then I decided to make space in the garage, and basically was like, I'm going to learn how to grow food. And so I just started planting seeds, just start doing it. And I think ultimately when people ask me like, what are the steps, and just start experimenting, start learning about what it means to plant a seed and watch that sprout and be a part of the growth. And so I slowly started to create edible landscape within my grandmother's yard. And so it was like this edible suburban home, and over a few years, it really started to grow. And at that same time, there was an uncle who used to come in the deli, and he used to just eat so much food and just hang out in a booth, and we'd always talk story. And I'd be like, why are you always so hungry? Like working landscaping. He's like, fast metabolism. He's like, I got to keep it up. But he told me, he's like, you know, I grew up on a farm, and he's like, what we should be doing is growing food. And just the synergy of the moment and him wanting to teach me, and him already kind of getting jobs at homes. We started a business called Edible Landscapes Hawaii. So I hadn't even really grown food for that long, but it was like kind of throwing into this like business concept of showing up for other people to help start building gardens. And I started making a lot of connections at that point and learning so much. So that's where it pretty much started.
Cool. Man, I'm like tripping out because when I'm hearing your story and I'm like seeing this common theme, I don't know if you even thought about it, like same with your music and your gardening or how you got into the āina work. To me, there's like a common connection of like, you started out like singing other people's music, and then with the garden or landscaping, you started like, you know, watering other plants. So you were like watering other people's plants, growing their stuff, but you were having this longing to grow your own self, your own plant, your own seeds. So it like started from you, you know, like I said, watering other people's things, to you planting the seed and watering your own garden. So I was like, oh, that's so cool.
And that's a big part of it, was like at a certain point, finding what my connection was to it, instead of what maybe I was expected to do for a job of taking care of somebody else's stuff. And even within the Edible Landscapes Hawaii, it came to a point where I didn't want to be planting vegetables for other people. I wanted to start my own project, which led to more of a farming type lifestyle.
That's so cool, because a lot of times we're so used to just following other people's plans or doing what other people think we should do, you know, go to school, get a job, start a family, all this stuff. But then once in a while, some people, when they have that calling to like write their own music instead of sing other people's songs, or start their own business instead of working for somebody else, you know, the people that actually go for it, it becomes a beautiful journey. And that's the journey that I'm on. That's the journey that you've been on for so long. And it really, you know, we talk about freedom, you know, the songs of freedom. It really creates that freedom in your life. And that's what I love most. It's not the, you know, the success, the followers, the money. It's freedom.
Yeah.
Like I get to wake up every day and choose what I want to do.
That's right.
And that's what I love the most about my life.
I love it.
Yeah.
And that's exactly right. I've definitely realized that if I want to live this lifestyle, I have to choose it. I have to create it. And that can be daunting at times. That can be filled with challenges. But the reward of seeing the success, and success, by saying that, for me, the success was like, oh, I just grew all these vegetables that I didn't know how to grow before. And all of a sudden you become abundant for me in food in certain ways that felt like a certain amount of wealth to be able to share. And I was like, oh, I want to continue this, cultivate this more. And even with the songs, all of a sudden people started saying, hey, this is a good tune, you know, like maybe put it out there. But right as I started, at the same time, I was just starting to record music. Very synergistic, my āina works with my music works. And I think it's a big part of who I stepped into, and realizing this deeper purpose as the āina was communicating with me while I was, you know, working and finding a deeper peace with a connection to the earth. It naturally wanted to come out in song, I think. So it just made sense to start writing about it. And, you know, there's a lot of different chapters within that as well. As self-discovery is happening, and as, you know, themes that are happening within our community at the time, you know. Yeah.
I think the really cool thing about planting and growing your own food is that there's a tangible result. You know, these other things that we decide to do, whether that's music or making starting a business, doing this podcast, we don't really see the results immediately. I mean, same with, you know, you gotta wait, you know, you gotta keep watering, you gotta take care of it. But I think you see it when the fruit is there, right? Here, we see it when somebody tells us, wow, your music touched me. Wow, this episode, listening to this guest changed my life. The cool thing is that, you know, with gardening, and I haven't even gotten into, you know, the planting, like that side of like the sustainability yet. But I know once that happens, it's like, it must be so rewarding, you know, to plant. Like, the closest thing that I can relate to is like my brother's house in Hilo when he bought it right before the pandemic. During the last couple of years, you know, plant you know, some kalo, plant some wala, plant a tree here, and now you see all the things coming up, and it's the coolest thing ever.
It's the best, right?
Yeah.
To like reap what you sow, put it in, you know.
Yeah. And for you, because you have been, you know, growing things for so long, now you're a father. You know, you planted another kind of seed, and they have sprouted. They are growing. And how do you think that? What do you think you learned from like growing food that you take into fatherhood?
Yeah, you know, this sense of like, for me, it became like this selfless service of like it being a deeper part of my life. Growing food, you know, is like, this becomes a lifestyle. This becomes something that I want to do for the rest of my life. The amazing miracle of watching a seed be planted and then the fruits come forth. You know, having children is also in that same vein. It's a true miracle. It's like a miracle of life. And I think that same care, you know, I always considered my babies at a certain point in life, and still do. You know, you got to make sure they're fed, you got to make sure they're watered, you know, I care for them. And it's just at a deeper level with actual keiki and watching their growth, and yeah, just being present for each stage. You know, I'm fresh in it. I'm a fresh papa. Like, I got a 2-year-old and a 3.5-year-old, and they are wild farm babies. And I'm so grateful for that, you know, and to also realize the āina is teaching them right now as well. Like, they're being raised on a farm. I was not raised on a farm with the connection that they currently have with their food and with their community, and this deeper level of connection to Mother Earth. And they don't even know it yet, you know, they're just like in it. But to watch them go out and eat popolo berries and pick poha berries and, Dad, let's pick cacao, you know, it's just, that's really what I feel like is so rewarding at this time of being a father, is that my work with the āina is now providing for my keiki.
Yeah, that's so cool. It's like, what is that saying? Like, you don't plant a tree for yourself, it's for like the next generation, or something like that. So now your kids are reaping the rewards of the seeds that you planted back then.
Totally.
And they're gonna keep on doing that for, you know, their keiki in the future and your whole family. And
I pray that.
I just think that's like the coolest thing ever. And as we're talking, I'm like realizing all these things within myself too. It's like, you know, you went on your music journey, your gardening journey, all of this, and it relates to what you're doing now with, you know, taking care of the āina. Now you're taking care of kids. For me, like, I just, 2 years ago, I said, I don't know if I want kids. And now that I'm thinking like, oh, maybe because I don't want the responsibility, it's like how I'm not into any āina work yet, because maybe I'm not ready for the responsibility. I'm not ready to like take that leap. So I wonder in the future, if my mind ever changes, I will start, like, something will shift, whether that's even just like owning a pet, because I also don't want pets. My girlfriend wants a pet, but I think I just like as little responsibility as I can have.
I get that. Yeah.
So I'm just curious to like look back, think back about this episode in a couple years and see how things change. If, you know, maybe I'm just like, I think I should start growing my own food. I think maybe I'll have a kid, you know. So it's just cool. I'm just like reflecting as you're talking about it.
And as you're saying that, I'm thinking back to chapters in my life where I definitely wasn't ready for kids, you know. I didn't have pets yet. There's a certain progression that happened in, like, from that backyard garden that we had created. You know, we ended up getting 3 chickens was to start. You know, at that time I had also met like the love of my life, my partner Kelly, who's, you know, we're now in Waimanalo together raising our babies. And this is like 15 years ago when we, you know, decided that we were going to be together and start this lifestyle. And at that time, I think we got chickens first. It was like 3 chickens. And then we ended up finding a dog on the side of the road, Ipo, starving pit bull. Kelly's very much so animal activist, cares for animals. She's like, we're going to save that dog. I was like, starving pit bull, are you sure? And man, they just had such a connection. We took Ipo in, and I named her first. So I was like, I named her like a week later. So I guess she's ours. And so, yeah, this evolution of like all of a sudden, you know, plant babies, animal babies taken care. I still wasn't ready for children, you know, at that time. And there was a certain moment, I think it was when we finally locked down where we're at right now with the āina we're on. We did that right before our baby girl, who's 3.5 now, came in. We locked in that long-term lease. But yeah, it was like right around 2020 COVID time where we just really were like, okay, well, let's welcome that in.
It's cool that it happened around 2020 because that's a time for a lot of us where it slowed down.
Right.
So you were able to just like focus on that, right? No distraction. You couldn't really do anything else but stay at home, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
It was like wild because we had, you know, so many people coming to help us at that point at the farm. A lot of activation on the Thursday volunteer days. We had different community groups coming to the farm, and then everybody just stopped coming.
Yeah.
And it was like Kelly and I were just at the farm. Like, all right, let's get back to like what we can do within ourselves, and really like. With what it comes down to is like when something like that happens, I want to be on the farm, you know, and I was grateful to be in the spot that I was. People were reaching out at that time, wanting mulch, like realizing that growing food, you know, if the system's shutting down, it's like, what are we going to do? We got to go to the farms and got to start planting our own, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I think during that time was when people started to get into gardening and all this like sustainability stuff because once the toilet paper was starting to run out at Costco, I think that's when everybody was like, this might be a bigger problem than we think.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a lot of lessons during that time. When did you, or how did you secure that spot in Waimanalo? Do you live there now or at the same spot or?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
So it's like, it's Department of Ag land. At the time, we were growing at a friend's place down the road in Waimanalo, and she had an acre of land, and we were basically doing this kind of exchange where I would basically do her yard and I would farm half of the land. It was great. It worked out really well for the time that we had it. And at that time, there was this collective cooperative that was created called Friends with Farms. And there was a lot of us going to the farmers markets together. And this woman, Shelly, and her husband, Gabe, they had expressed they had this farm and they had 2 leases next to each other. And at the time we went there and they opened up a greenhouse to us, which we started growing tomatoes in, and these bays for doing soil. We wanted to build our own soil. So it was basically kind of getting started there. And there was a house on the property. But one of her family members was in it. You know, as life would have it, you know, divine timing, it became available. We moved in there. They realized they couldn't handle that upper piece. Her husband, Gabe, had passed away a few years later. And she basically was like, I'll sell you this upper piece. So it was kind of divine timing, really, because some of those leases don't come up very often. And, you know, I'm really just at that point, you know, you're looking for, when you want a farm, you know, the availability of āina is very limited, like with having a good piece to just do what you want on. So really for me, it's just about putting food in the ground and having a stable place to do that. And luckily this place came available and it was the next opportunity to step into, you know, and it has a house on it. So and to lock that in before we had children was like, huge. So, awesome. You know, I see myself there raising the babies. Who knows what the next chapter is moving forward, but really I just want to raise my family with āina connection and be able to have a space where I can continue planting for the community.
Yeah, I can't wait till I'm a little bit more healthy and I can come to one of the volunteer days. My girlfriend said she went a couple of years ago and she loved it. So yeah, maybe in a couple months we'll see how my body's doing.
Olena, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we got that. Yeah. We'll get into that soon. But I want to know why do you think more people don't do what you're doing? Why do you think more people don't decide to get into growing their own food? Myself as well. Is it just because of the lack of resources, accessibility, knowledge, laziness?
Right.
I think with a lot of things that are good for us, we tend not to do. You know, like, okay, eating this cheeseburger isn't the best for us, but we still do it. You know, if I want to be healthy, I have to exercise. Not all of us exercise, you know? Well, what is it about us that we just don't decide to do these things?
Yeah, sometimes you gotta. It's not the normal thing, I guess. It's you have to break the norms sometimes of like what society is claiming that we need to do as a steady thing, and at that time you also got to follow your passions. So creating this lifestyle wasn't something anyone else was telling me to do. It was definitely my own choice and a self-discovery of like, is this what I want to do? Like, is this something I can step into and really feel like I had to find it out for myself, and I was feeling called to it. So I heeded that call, I went for it. And I think that's what's unique to my situation with it. Whatever my scenario was to get me to that point, to feel called to the āina, is a unique connection that I have with Mother Earth right now. It's unique for each person, their āina connection, and hopefully there's a little inspiration that will draw you to the āina at a certain point. Like everybody can have that āina connection. But I wasn't totally sure about what I was doing when I started doing it. But once I started doing it, once I started growing food and reaping the rewards of what it means to be a farmer, health is wealth, and seeing what it was doing for my mind, body, soul was truly a gift. And I was like, I want to continue doing this. And like, this is no longer just something I want to do. This is now a lifestyle. This is a personal lifestyle choice that I'm going to embody and really step into. And so I think with my unique scenario, whatever it was that called me to that point, I just like went all in.
Yeah, I think that's a good point in making it a lifestyle, whether that's healthy eating, exercising. It's not just, I'm going to do this thing for 3 days and then I'm going to get back to my normal bad habits. It's making it into an everyday lifestyle routine where you're waking up. And what I remember reading in, I think could be the 4-Hour Work Week. I forget, by Tim Ferriss, or another book where it's like, don't just read the book just to read, do it to become a reader. You have to become the thing, and that's how you break these habits and start creating these lifestyles.
Right.
You have to be the thing, and I think that's what you did so well. One thing that I want to know is, how does yoga play into all of this? Because we have the Yogarden things right in front of us.
Connecting my pillars, my trio.
You got your 3 pillars: music, āina, and yoga.
That's it. Yeah, yoga, man, just so grateful for the energy that came through at a point to call me in the direction of yoga. My partner, Kelly, is an amazing yoga instructor. And the guy who introduced us, they dated for a minute. He was also a yogi, and at that point I was learning a lot about yoga. This is like 16 years ago, just like realizing that as I'm shifting my diet in certain ways and eating more from the āina, connecting more with where food comes from, also naturally wanting to shift all aspects of health and wellness for my body. And at that time there were some really great yoga classes being offered, and just exploring that, just like, what does it mean? Like, at first you think, stretching, I grew up stretching for sports, and like, when you really dive into it, just the aspects of peace that come from sitting with yourself, like we were talking about, the self-discovery, but sitting with yourself even more to a depth where you kind of start to melt away, the ego starts to melt away, and then this sense of source connection. I always kind of was searching for a sense of spirituality growing up, and I feel like the āina really called that in. And then when given the space to sit with myself to the point where my thoughts can slow down, especially with the mind that can be racing, was so liberating, so healing. And it was exactly what I needed at that point in my life. And it also had the benefits of, you know, my body was able to work a lot more because all of a sudden I'm like doing all this stretching. Yeah. So I can like throw the pick all day, you know, and it's like, wow, I feel great. But as long as I'm like stretching, you know, and that's still the case today, I don't have the opportunities to do an hour and a half yoga class as much as I would like to. I actually don't even remember the last time I did an hour and a half yoga class, but I have my own practice where I can take half hour, even 10 minutes, like to really just take a moment to connect with the body, especially before I get into the āina, or the mindful practices of just slowing down and taking a breath. Super helpful in so many ways of life, especially now having keiki too. Like,
you need to take a couple extra breaths.
Yeah, you gotta go take some breaths. You gotta go stretch.
Yeah.
And that's a big part of what became Yogarden, was those pillars, you know, and we were having so much fun with it. It was like, you know, yoga gardening and music was just, it just was fun, especially at that time in life, you know, mid-20s, just trying to like have fun. And at the same time, like feeling like I'm finding my purpose, feeling like I'm connected to something that brings me joy. That at certain moments I can make a little money as well, because we gotta navigate in society.
Yep.
But also doing it because I love it and feeling like these are things I would do even if I wasn't making a little money. And I never was a yoga teacher. I did some yoga teacher trainings, and I feel like I've actually been wanting to call that more in lately. I've been kind of doing more of a calisthenic yoga / kind of workout routine that my body's really stoked on. So yeah, and again, you make it yours, you know, and what your offerings are. But yeah, that's where the Yogarden.
Nice.
Yep.
So for people who have never heard about it, like what do you guys exactly do over there, and what are the volunteer days like?
Totally. You know, what it started as was like us in the backyard growing food at grandma's house and going to the markets and, you know, selling food. It soon became these offerings of live music yoga where I would play and Kelly would teach. There was another amazing teacher on island, Brigitte. I would play live music for her classes, and we would do these kind of offerings where we would actually, Kelly's an amazing vegan chef as well, so she would make food with what we were growing, and we would do farm to table dinners with live music and yoga. So it became this, like, that's what it kind of started as, was like, we'll see how this wants to continue. And then what's great is at a certain point, some uncles saw what I was doing, and they were like, Paul, the old bar in Kailua, Decoys, is vacant right now. It's part of the bowling alley there. And we would love to see something positive happen there. And that's where kind of these music gatherings started to come, which were drug and alcohol free. You know, you're calling in the family energy, more early events where you see all ages. And that started for a couple of years. We did them there while we were kind of doing the same thing of growing food at grandma's house. And it kind of just tied it all in a deeper way. And of course, things evolve, time happens, you know, things shift from different parts. We ended up offering that at another farm called Green Rose Farm in Waimanalo. And at that point, we had also established this connection with my friend to grow on her half of an acre. So it's wild how, like, synergistically things all start kind of weaving together to get you to the next steps, you know. You know, they say, like, look back to where you were 5 years ago and look how far you've come. Even though when you're in the moment and just like navigating life, it's just like you're always seeing with, you know, moving forward in that direction. So currently, you know, we're at 3.5 acres in the back roads of Waimanalo, where we are offering, you know, volunteer days. It's very āina based right now, especially with having children. We haven't done a lot of the yoga aspects. We're wanting to incorporate this in some way, but right now I think really it's about getting people to the āina to see what we're about. I just had Iolani schools come bring some students.
Awesome.
And I love incorporating the yogic aspects when I'm giving a tour to the youth, because I think it's important to just take a moment, breathe on the āina. And also I have this thing called circles, more of like a calisthenics, kind of like washing machines, the kind of stuff you grew up stretching with before.
Picking pineapples, washing machine, all those.
I have this one called horse getting fly off its back or something. That's what I end with. But yeah, to keep it fun, but also at the end of moving the body, to take a moment of stillness and just connect and breathe and listen to the sounds. And I think that's really what it's about, like the peace that we can feel within doing the things that we love. And hopefully that inspires the youth in this time to find out what brings them peace, and to take a moment to breathe in a world that can be so fast paced and so many distractions and moments to take our attention. It's like, oh yeah, I can just breathe and take it in for a moment.
Yeah. I think anybody listening to this should be inspired, the youth, the old.
Yeah. It's for all ages.
The ghosts, the spiritual beings listening, anybody listening. Because you talk about synergy, and I think all your synergistic experiences just happen just because you follow your passion. I mean, it's as simple as that, I think when people follow their passion, good things happen. When you do things where money isn't the goal, it's just happiness, or whatever your inner self is just telling you, not always telling you. Just do that. And my thing was always just do the next most exciting thing. Yeah. And that led me to the Peace Corps, to the journey I did, paying off student loans, to starting a business, to starting a podcast, to doing all these other things. And not once did I ever question if I, should I be doing this? Is this the right thing? It's just do it. And find out.
That's it. You'll find out along the way.
Yeah, you'll find out. And I think that's the best part of life, is the journey, right?
That's it. Life is a great mystery, we gotta step into it, and I love what you're speaking about, because I totally relate to that.
Yeah.
It's definitely one of those things where I okay, I'm just gonna trust and just keep going, and if energy gets stagnant, you keep moving,
Yeah.
And I think that's an important part. It's like, you don't want to find yourself in a stagnant place where it's like, oh, I'm locked in to something I don't want to be doing. And if that happens, it's okay to be vulnerable and break out of the box and figure out what the next step is.
Yeah, I think for people like us, we have more of a kind of a gypsy nomadic spirit to us, where I'm a Peace Corps guy. I'm a peace and love kind of guy. I may not look like it, but that's how I am. Where I have this this traveling soul, or this curious mind, and this some sort of spirituality that I don't talk too much on this podcast, but it could just be from my Hawaiian upbringing, from learning about certain things in my Hawaiian immersion school, and connecting with the land, anthropomorphism, stuff like that, is seeing other things as living beings, the rocks, the ocean, and whatever. So whether I like that or not, I didn't care about that growing up, I think it's ingrained into me. And the more I talk about it, and the older I get, I start to realize how true these things are in my life. I just don't have the beard and the long hair, but I'm pretty hippie when it comes to a lot of things in life.
Totally. Yeah, I actually shaved off my hair and my beard 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And kind of in the middle of my journey, threw everybody off. They were like, hey, what's going on? But yeah, it's where the heart is, right? It's all about our connection and our growth in that. And I think as we start to do it more, there's this deepening, especially with wisdom of just getting older and learning life lessons and experiences. And I feel like that's a good segue into a crucial evolution of mine was going to University of Hawaii for a chapter to learn education and in agriculture, and basically getting put into the situation where I could learn in the school setting and deepen my my connection with where I wanted to go with what I was doing at a crucial point. And La'au Lapa'au was a very important integral class that was offered at UH, and Kumuluvan Ohai was a teacher at that point at UH, and just his ability to create a welcoming environment. I had never been in a classroom setting where you start with pule, and then you kuka, you talk story, just like, it was so freeing and so what my soul needed at that time. I can remember being in tears, sharing a story, and feeling so held by everyone in that room. And he was so welcoming. I think not everybody in that room was registered in that class. It was like, gotta just show up and absorb the mana'o being shared by Uncle. And yeah, that was a very integral chapter in kind of the deepening of my connection with āina and this concept of food as medicine. Because after the talk story, he would share about herbs that you could incorporate into your life, and olena, the turmeric, was one of those herbs, and ginger, learning about laukahi, the nioi, the chili pepper, just realizing that these plants that I maybe just planting in a garden, they have healing properties. And if I connect with them in a certain way, as he would say, it's half your spirit, half the spirit of the plant to work, to have healing properties to work with you. That concept was like, just kind of blew me away, of like connecting spiritually with a plant and trusting in the healing elements of these herbs. I get chicken skin thinking of it, because it's this deepening of connection to āina that I think is so necessary now. And at that point in my life, it was so crucial for me to go to the backyard and feel inspired to just start planting and just start experimenting and developing a relationship with these herbs, and then start to incorporating them into my lifestyle.
That's awesome. Yeah. And you have something right there, right? You're gonna grab it and show it to people. Yeah,
this is our turmeric powder. It says organic Hawaiian olena. Yeah, we've been doing more value-added products on the farm.
I think hold on this second, your mic's blocking it. There you go.
So this is what we've been selling as a value-added product. But olena, if you haven't seen, here's just a little finger of olena, but I literally have hundreds of pounds coming out of the ground right now. So if anybody needs olena, hit me up.
Thank you for giving me some. We like to make like the olena tea, or with ginger, and you gotta put the black pepper to activate them, right?
Activate it, and then use a coconut oil or some kind of fat to make it more available to the body as well.
Oh, cool! Yeah. Oh, like MCT oil.
Yeah,
that's what they use for the coffee. Yeah,
perfect.
Yeah, it's the same concept.
But anti-inflammation. So especially for surgery situations, like this will be great. Yeah,
my girlfriend's all into like holistic healing. Her mom's a yoga instructor as well.
Amazing.
She did yoga training and all that. So we just did a yoga class last week. I'm starting to get into yoga because it's like the, I guess, least intensive thing that I can do. That's not like, because my thing was like HIIT workouts. A lot of high intensity, like jumping, lifting. So now it's nice that I can like slow down a little bit and just do what I can and meet my body where it's at.
Yeah.
That's what she's always telling me. Like, I'm like, oh, but I can't do all these things. And she's just like, just meet your body where it's at.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like, just allowing your body to kind of talk to you of like what the needs are, not trying to push the limits too much. That's why I love yoga, because it's like, I feel like I can sit on a mat and kind of feel what is needed, go for maybe a stronger practice, or like just do restorative postures, because that's what the body needs. So taking it at our own pace.
Yeah, super cool. All right, so we're gonna get into a quick shishi break, and we'll come back with social media fan questions.
Kalea Hop Water is a sparkling hop-infused beverage with bright tropical flavors and the refreshing essence of island life, with 0 alcohol, 0 carbs, and 0 calories. Kalea brings aloha in every bubble.
All right, we're back from a quick shishi break. Mahalo to our drink sponsor, Kalea Sparkling Hop Water, providing the best quality shishi. Organic and nutritious, with 0 calories, 0 total fat, 0 sodium, 0 carb. All the nutrition you need. Okay, let's get into the social media fan questions. Right. This one comes from the huge This person says, how did you know you wanted to be a farmer and what was your inspiration? You kind of talked about it already, but is there anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I think the deeper knowing kind of comes when you start. I think the moment I knew was, I've shared about this before, but it's definitely the moment, the aha moment of like having planted the seed, watching the whole process, patience for that process, and then this beautiful head of broccoli. Just like, oh my gosh, I did this. Like, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. Having these kind of connections with our food just deepen so much more the connection with food, you know, and I realized that once I had the ability to do that, I was like, why would I go back? Like, yeah, I feel like it's grown in many ways with many different crops. And yeah, once you start to have the benefits of food grown in your backyard, it's so valuable, especially in this time. So yeah, there's many reasons why I continue to farm. Just, you know, deeper purpose with the keiki and community, and just the importance of getting back to the āina and the connection within community and our relationship with our earth.
Cool.
But yeah, that's my drive.
Yeah, and I think when you first start to see any sort of results, that makes you excited to want to keep doing it, you know? Say you go to the gym, you start to see like, is that abs or is that some sort of muscle?
Right.
I've never seen that before. And it makes you excited because you just want to do it more.
Yeah, totally. That's why when people tell me, oh, I got a black thumb, I'm like, no, you just got to keep at it until, because it's just this combination and discipline of watering and nutrients. And then the plant will respond, you know, and then all of a sudden your connection like will grow with it. But it just takes time.
Yeah, I feel like there's so many metaphors of life that you can learn from gardening, right?
It's funny you say that, because that's exactly what I wanted to share too. Like this, like a lot of my music's based on that too, where it's like the blossoming into ourself, you know, the consciousness is really based from garden life too. So many metaphors.
Yeah, totally. I love it. Okay, the next question comes from Mr.Malama.āina. This person says, why do you malama āina? Great question.
Yeah, I think further into that connection of self. When I'm in the āina, I feel connected in a deepening of my purpose, and all of a sudden I feel like I'm more integrated within my surroundings. You know, I'm more integrated in what it means to be a steward of the āina. Like every time I'm malama āina, it's definitely a deepening of feeling this connection that is so valuable in this time, to bring a peace of mind that I think my mind needs, you know. So I keep doing that to bring clarity, you know, to get me back into what I feel this earth needs. It's connection, you know. Mahalo, Mr. Malama.
Yeah. Malama ka'aina, naka'aina, and malama ya'way. That's what they always told us. Take care of the land and the land will take care of you.
That's it, yeah.
Okay. Next question comes from Yayu Wahu. He's also at that event, the CRB event. He says, what have you learned about the importance of pulling up as a community with Hawaii challenges?
Yes. You know, I feel like it comes back to what's the modern day ahupua'a, what's the model we want to shape for the next generations, you know, with all the things that we're facing in a chaotic time of a system that seems to be crumbling in certain areas. It comes back to community, it comes back to āina connection, it comes back to collaboration within a community that can support each other with the works. You know, I feel deeply inspired by others who are doing the āina works. You know, I think to feel that and to see it in social media now, we can see what everybody's doing, and to be tapped in with people who are really stepping up in the connection of āina works and integrating that into a movement for solutions is inspiring, you know, and that keeps my drive going for sure. So I think there's always going to be problems that need to be addressed in any community, and if we do that with the most clarity and coming from a place of groundedness, which I feel like an āina connection can bring, we start to make those solutions and it starts to clear a path. So I think we're doing that in many aspects as a community, even amongst certain things that can feel heavy or distracting. There is a passion to want to build and thrive, and that's important.
Yeah. And it was so cool to see an example of that with the event that Daniel Anthony put on about the coconut rhinoceros beetles. Just learning about not only the importance of coconuts, but how we can use certain things like a coconut and feed so many people, you know?
It's the tree of life, right?
Yeah, totally.
I mean, that's a great example of, we need to ecologically adapt in certain settings where, when we're feeling pressured, especially from a pest that's eating one of our valuable resources, how do we step up? How do we navigate and hooey up and start to see a solution come? And I think that's really important in the times where we're faced with what we're seeing now with the coconut rhinoceros beetle. If things aren't done, it could wipe out a very valuable resource. So to hold that image of abundance for this tree and to keep a outlook while being activated and engaged in natural solutions, so important.
Yeah, it's crazy that you don't even realize how much we use coconuts for. Or just maybe not these days as like in our everyday lives living in town, but like just generations, it was food, it was water, it was, they used it to make things, they use it to tie things, they use it to make brooms, to sweep things, to
so
clean.
Many uses. Pahu, you could use in drums.
Exactly, right? Yeah. There's an endless amount of things that we can use coconut for, so that's why it's super important. I wanted to talk about the modern ahupua'a, because that's a thing that I've mentioned multiple times on this podcast, is that now, we talk about, bridging the gap between the traditional and the modern. And one of the great systems of our people was the ahupua'a system, where everybody was living together, helping each other out. The land was helping the sea and, vice versa. Nowadays, it just looks different, You talk about social media and stuff. Like, I imagine the ahupua'a, the classic ahupua'a picture that we see, but with like people working at a computer, like doing AI, or like influencers promoting like nonprofit work and stuff like that. I feel like somebody maybe out there one day should just like redesign what a modern ahupua'a in Hawaii looks like. Because I think you'll have a lot of that. We'll still have our farmers, we'll still have our fishermen.
Yeah.
We need all of that. We still have our, lahala makers and, the leaders, and maybe the leaders, they're not going to be in malos, they're going to be in aloha shirts. Right. That's the difference. And there's going to be people who are hunting, but then there's going to be the guys with a pig on their back taking a selfie.
That's right.
That's the modern ahupua'a that we're living in today.
Yeah, you got to weave technology into it in some regards. And yeah, I feel like ultimately it's how we want to make it. We step into this, but it needs to incorporate this regenerative, sustainable aspect of feeding into systems and seeing collaboration from Makoto Makai, right? And this also leads into my study with permaculture, which is this basically concept that the ahupua'a mimicked beautifully, is an example of, and you can find it all around the world, of like systems feeding into the next system to create a design that is in harmonious living with our earth. How can we learn to live in more harmony with our surroundings? And I think that's what the ahupua'a represented. So finding that in the modern day setting is like, what are things that we can start implementing?
Cool.
Yeah.
It's another side note. It's cool that when you bring up certain things, and then I'm like, oh, that's a song. Yeah, that's a song that you think about that.
Lead the way.
Yeah, exactly. Permaculture, la'olapa'au, like all these things. It's so cool how you just like intertwine your life with everything.
Yeah. Even in the permaculture song, I talk about the ahupua'a as an example. I mean, that's really how I I feel like I can share more. It's fun to be here talking about all this, but I really like get into the writing of and sharing these things via song.
Yeah, and it's important stuff.
Totally.
You know, water is life, you know, planting kalo, taking care of ole GMO, stuff like that, you know, Monsanto, all of that. So, yeah, it's great music, great lyrics, great message, all of it. You got it all. Okay, next question comes from Kimberly_Ray. She says, I remember you from Farmer's Market Kailua and your calming energy / music. Mahalo. What genre would you categorize your music and why? So
Folky blues and rocky reggae.
Yeah, for rock reggae.
Yeah.
Folky blues, rock reggae. For rock reggae.
Rock reggae.
Flues, broccoloos.
There you go, broccoloos.
Broccoloos.
Type of broccoli. No.
Yeah. And why? Why do you say that?
Yeah. So, thank you for coming to the farmers market, supporting me during that chapter. I spent about a decade playing music at farmers markets, Aloha farmers lovers markets in particular. In North Shore it started, and then we went to Kailua. And that was such a important chapter for me in learning to navigate my creative abilities as a songwriter, and to just do it in front of people. I would often be writing in the middle of writing a song, and I'm like, people are just, this is a supportive environment to bring out a fresh tune, farm fresh tune, as I like to say, and just start playing it and see how it evolves. So I shaped a lot of songs at the farmers market based on what I was feeling like. It could be, folky or bluesy or rocky or reggae. So really, it kind of just pertained what's happening. I'm also like very sensitive to what was happening within the time periods, of creating a song, or I feel inspired to create a song from a movement of some type. And yeah, having the farmers markets really allowed me to explore my genres. And yeah, I still don't know fully, I say that, because it's fun to say, but yeah, sometimes it's like, I don't know how to fully categorize my tunes, and it's just,
maybe
hard.
you don't need to.
Yeah, right? Hard
It is
music,
what it is.
āina based music. There you go.
Yeah. It's music that touches the soul.
That's it.
Okay, nice. All right. Next question comes from Kuakaloa Robinson. He says, I gotta know, how long has he been growing out that beard, and how the heck does he take care of it?
Yeah, this one is about a year and a half, I think. But typically, I've been shaving like once a year. It's funny that you're bringing up the beard because I almost shaved like last week. I was like, I think I'm gonna take down the beard. And then when we were talking about coming on here, I was like, I might just leave the beard for the podcast.
Yep.
So if you see me in a couple
that.
weeks, I might have a clean shaven face. But
Yeah. You have the record for biggest beard on the Keep It Low podcast.
All right. I'll hold that on.
How do you take care of it? Like, you just let it
I'll
grow?
sometimes brush it.
Okay.
My family's brushing their hair. I'm just like brushing my beard.
You get things
But
stuck
yeah,
in it, or like,
honestly, I mean, when you're eating, it's kind of the classic
or just like
scenario of,
like bugs flying, or like leaves when you're working. Or...
I mean, it happens. Definitely, like I try and cleanse in the ocean, and I pretty much just wash with Bronner's. So Dr. Bronner's is like my go-to. So
that's a good one.
It's the best.
Yeah. Do you feel smarter when you're thinking and you're doing this?
You know what's funny is like, if I shave this, sometimes I'll go to do it and I'm like, oh,
not there.
My tiny chin up here.
So how long does it take you to just like, so after you shave, like just a week later, you're already like,
yeah,
pretty...
I mean, it's my Czechoslovakian roots here of like, the beard. Give me 3 weeks and it'll look like it's full beard already for sure.
Dang. Yeah, when I grew out my facial hair in the Peace Corps for 2 years, it basically was just like a patchy kind of like, maybe like here, that's all. Like very just scraggly. It was nowhere close to that. That's crazy.
It's funny because my senior year of high school, I had a full goatee.
Really?
Then, I'd be on the soccer field just like, is that a full-grown man?
Crazy. Yeah, so I've been watching a lot of March Madness college basketball, and I see some of these guys, and they look like they got some facial hair going on, or they just look old. I'm like, it's crazy. These people are like 18 to 22 maybe, and they just look like full-grown men.
Yep.
It's crazy, and I'm just watching these guys cheering on. We're just yelling at kids on the TV, basically, like, "Oh, you should have made that," or whatever.
That was me at 18 for sure.
That's funny. So, are you gonna keep that beard and long hair like forever, or what's the goal with that?
I think, as I mentioned earlier, I shaved my head, or I didn't shave it, but I cut it all the way down. That was a really healing thing for me. As far as sometimes we create an image for ourselves or an identity. And I think that first round of growing dreadlocks and beard was good that I shaved that off. For my own clarity, I think when I originally started growing my locks and my beard, it was also in a sense to kind of create a new image for myself, in the sense of like get away from like, surfer kid kind of feeling. There's a lot of different energies from a chapter that I kind of wanted to step into, a more wiser space. And I think just growing my hair helped represent that. But also to get to a point where when I cut it off, to realize it's, ultimately it's within our heart space, and, the wisdom within, this is just, decoration of humans. We each have our unique looks, and I choose to grow my beard and my hair sometimes. So, and I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for the locks and the beard. But it's also this remembrance of like, ultimately, it's for the soul that counts. It doesn't really matter what I look like.
Yeah, it's all the external things.
Yeah. The decorations as humans.
I like how you said a decoration. The decoration on top of my head. Okay, cool. Sorry, let me just adjust. Okay. Last question comes from ha'aheo.bye. This person says, curious to know what his everyday diet consists of.
Yeah, good question. And it's evolved over the years. I grew up in a deli, right? So I've eaten more meat than most people consume in their lifetime, I think. And when the deli was no more, and I didn't have like sandwiches on tap, which was such a blessing, but also at that time I didn't have connection with food back then. I was very grateful to have abundance of all these meats and different types of foods, and super grateful for my father and my family for creating that environment for me and all of us to feel supported in that. But as I started to do more of the health and wellness and getting into growing food, it's like, I want to know where my food comes from. And as you go down that rabbit hole of how much of a journey our food takes to get to your plate, if it's being imported, and what are we importing, 90% right now to Hawaii, and it's kind of mind blowing how much it takes to get food to our plate, especially being 5 hours away from a nearest flight to another landmass. I think for me, it just started to evolve into, okay, let's see what I can grow on my own. Start incorporating that into my diet. When I became partners with Kelly, she is like the most true to organic vegan I'd ever met. And I think I needed that at that point in my life, was to be vegan. I was raw vegan with her for a while, and I went vegan. She's still vegan. And it was good for me to explore that, because I needed to know that I don't need meat for every meal, in a mindset of growing up where meat was just so available, no connection with it really. I needed to know that, I can go weeks, months, years without eating meat, and I'm good. And actually my health is awesome. And at a certain point, my body started wanting to call that in again, wanting to incorporate eggs. I said we started raising 3 chickens at a certain point, which now is about 25 chickens at the farm. But yeah, so, it just started to evolve in certain ways. A friend down the road who is a fisherman, trading vegetables for fish, exploring with other meats, but doing it in a way that feels way more grounded and connected than it ever was when I was younger. And really listening to the body. I think it's important to see what our body needs, you know, and not just feel like you have to follow something because others are doing it. I think there's a lot of health benefits in creating more of a plant-based lifestyle, but also for each individual, it's going to be different. And for me, I keep exploring with my diet and doing it in the most conscious way that I can to like keep that connection to food.
Okay. So do you ever eat at restaurants or like fast food or
it can be fast food, no. But like restaurants can be tricky too, because like we eat mostly organic, and it's rare to find like strictly organic type restaurants. But I'll eat Thai food, and you make exceptions for certain things. But yeah, if I'm gonna eat out, it needs to be like quality food and prepared, and some kind of awareness in it. And yeah, my body and fast food don't mix. Yeah.
But you ever ate at Umeke?
Oh yeah,
I love them.
Yeah, it's been a while, but they're
Chinatown.
Yeah, when we used to work Hawaii Kai, they were like kind of at the Kohala area.
Oh, they're over there?
No, that was like years ago.
Oh, okay.
I think that's where they originally were.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of working towards the fast food where this avocado is reaching my porch right now. I'm waiting for that to grow. So slow food until it's fast food. Yeah.
I love that. I stopped eating chain restaurants, fast food. I stopped that when I got back from the Peace Corps.
Yeah.
So like McDonald's, Taco Bell, Jack in the Box, all those things. My main goal was local restaurants only. But yeah,
love that.
I don't know if I'd be able to give up the meat and stuff just because of like the Hawaiian food and culture,
Totally.
like lau, kua pig,
Totally.
It's not that I eat those all the time, but it's grad party, it's coming up, graduation season coming up.
Yeah, actually for our baby luau's, we had jackfruit trees.
Oh.
And we actually did pulled pork luau's.
Oh,
that
sounds mean.
Which was awesome. You can do things kind of in vegan ways.
Yeah,
We had two vegan emus at the farm.
Cool. It's so awesome to see all the creative things people are doing with food.
Yeah.
I mean, like we'll go back to that event that we were just at, right, at Cocohead Cafe.
Yeah.
When they were I can't even remember the menu, but some things were like coconut fritters or something that.
Right. Oh,
that one, and then like
so tasty.
the one that they kind of made like a tofu thing out of it. It was like one of the first ones. Do you remember that one?
I was kind of out of order with how
because they brought your stuff up.
Yeah.
I gotta look at the pictures again, but they had some really good stuff.
That's the way. I think to get creative with our food and using, it's like, I mean, that's why it was so easy for me to become vegan with Kelly for a while, because she's a vegan chef and she was creating these like masterpieces of like using what we had. And yeah, it's fun to get like, that's her creative art.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, mahalo everybody for the social media fan questions. Make sure you leave some for our next guest, and maybe a question make it on the podcast. We got a special treat for you all because right now we're gonna have Paul play a song for you guys. So hopefully you're still watching. We got a post halftime show going on right now. So we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back with the song.
All right, this is my freshest farm tune right here called Musical Farmer. Just talking about my balances between farming and music. Here we go. Yeah. Music carry the seeds of freedom. Planted around the world, we can feel the healing. Everybody plant with a deeper meaning. Love is alive, yeah. I'm a musical farmer, that's the life for me. With my hands in the land and my mind on a melody. I'm a musical farmer, that's the life for me, yeah. With my hands in the land and my mind on a melody. Hey! melody playing for me every single day. When I put my hands in the land, she got something to say about the roots of creation, the depth and foundation, and we'll make a stand for the next generation. I can hear her sing for the wounds that she's feeling. When we come together, we can pray for healing, riding the waves of her inspiration, planting the seeds in the garden. I'm a musical farmer, that's the life for me. With my hands in the land and my mind on a melody, yeah. I'm a musical farmer, that's the life for me. With my hands in the land and my mind on a melody. In every season there's a tune that comes through, just like Mama Nature knows what's good for you. I got Olena in the winter with the citrus and the gingerbread, Ramaki in the spring, summer mangoes are the thing. Everyone sing with a heartfelt feeling, and when we sing together we can pray for healing. Yeah, there's something you've been growing, the rhythm you flowing on. Everyone can sing this song. Yeah, I'm a musical farmer, that's the life for me. With my hands in the land and my mind on a melody, yeah. I'm a musical farmer, that's the life for me, yeah. With my hands in the land and my mind on a melody, yeah. Carry the seeds of freedom, planting round the world, we can feel the healing. Everybody plant with a deeper meaning. Love is alive. Alright, this song is called La'au Lapa'au, originally written in tribute to Kumulavan Ohai, who taught La'au Lapa'au herbal health care at University of Hawaii. Wisdom is the absence of foolishness. It comes with each experience. Wisdom, yes, is the absence of foolishness. It comes with each experience. Age and wisdom, age and wisdom, age and wisdom, passed down from generation. Hey, a warm mahalo to the late Kumu Ohai. Your knowledge and your wisdom will surely never die. He said you wanna learn, then I will teach you how to use the ancient wisdom of La'au Lapa'au. A healer's companion is the herbs, yeah. So you must become Ma'a with the herbs, yeah. And what you do with it is always up to you. Just remember one thing, Akua always guides you through. A simple mixture and you will see. It's half your spirit, half the plant energy. Hey, La'au Lapa'au, hey. Hawaiian plant medicine, yes, La'au Lapa'au, hey. It's time we teach our children this here, yes. Age and wisdom, age and wisdom, age and wisdom, passed down from generation, yeah. Where Kumu Ohai, he came up to a friend and I, smiles and embrace, looked her straight in the face. He said, last night a Kua came to me and told me that these are peaceful warriors I see. You will have strength in everything you do. Just keep an open heart and always stay true. Don't cloud your thoughts, don't you cloud your mind. Observe the signs and pull it all the time. Put your hands in the land, spirit will grow stronger. Just remember, Akua what takes you higher, la'au, la'pa'au, hey. Hawaiian plant medicine, yes, la'au, la'pa'au, hey. It's time we teach our children this here, yes, ancient wisdom, ancient wisdom, ancient wisdom, passed down from generation. I use laukai to mend my wounds. I use the comfrey to mend my bones. I use the knee oil to circulate my blood, yes, and olena to keep the inflammation down. I use kalika to radiate the mana, and avapui for sickness and for flu. I'm telling you, herbs are our friends, yeah. It's time we practice conscious medicine. I'm telling you, herbs are our friends, yeah. It's time we practice conscious medicine. Hey, la'au, la'pa'au, hey. Hawaiian plant medicine, yes, la'au, la'pa'au. It's time we teach our children this la'au, la'pa'au, yes, yeah. Hawaiian plant medicine, la'au, la'pa'au, yeah. It's time we teach our children this here, yes, ancient wisdom, ancient wisdom, yeah, yeah, ancient wisdom, passed down from generation.
All right, I'm back. He's still there. No guitar this time. That was awesome. Mahalo for sharing that.
Yeah, of course.
So what's the story behind that song?
So the la'au la'pa'au, definitely, as I was sharing about Ojai earlier, there was this point in the class where he came up to my good friend Justin, who actually is my neighbor now. He lives on the farm next door. He owns Island Foodscaping. The two of us were taking the class together, and he came to us after class, and it's just this impactful moment of a kumu who you deeply respect coming to just kind of, he basically was like affirming our path and like giving us inspiration to continue the journey we're on. He's like, I see you brothers in the back of the room, like you're, peaceful warriors. He told us he loved us, gave us a big hug. And that was really meaningful at that time. Like I felt really inspired by him already, and to have words of like, keep the journey moving forward, because, we were sharing about our āina works that we were currently kind of working on. And, Ojai left his body a few years later, and I only had that little blip of time that was so impactful in my life. And, to be influenced by someone and then to hear that they, transitioned, definitely that I felt called to write that song, as hopefully an inspiration towards others to seek plant medicine in their own lives and to keep his lessons moving on. I mean, that song kind of shares that as far as the impact that he had on others and what it means to incorporate la'au into your life. So yeah, it was kind of like a tribute to Ojai and also like a calling in of others to accept, this amazing herbal healthcare, Hawaiian plant medicine.
Cool.
Yeah.
Super cool. I know that's something that a lot more people should be into instead of like, popping the Tylenol, the ibuprofen, straight call the doctor, antibiotics. There's so many things that we can do. Also, so many things that we can do for preventative care over sick care.
Right.
That's Western medicine. Is like they want us to be sick so that we can, go to the doctor and see all of this. But ever since the pandemic, man, my eyes have been, I'm like, yeah. I don't trust the government. I don't trust Big Pharma, nothing.
Man, when things start getting revealed, you can't unsee or unlearn things. It's like, and then when you realize you can kind of bring the power back to your own hands or your community hands by making simple adjustments, just by like growing food it's quite a rebellious act, you know, and is actually quite a political statement as well, claiming food sovereignty in your own communities is like really kind of bringing back power to the growing of food. There's a lot within that all nations can grow from, as they start to take that power back and growing their own food.
Yeah, super cool. And when specifically for like la'au or just like using plants for like random things like cold sores, like the kukuina, learning about that growing up, or like my dad grows a lot of plants and like the fern they used to use for like to cover up wounds and stuff.
Yeah.
From the hapu'u and stuff like that. And I just think those things are super cool, and again something that I need to learn more about. Yeah.
And there's so much to learn too, like the homeopathic remedies all around the world,
Yeah, all around the world, exactly. Oh, okay, so I like to ask all of my guests the same question about keeping it aloha. It's the name of the podcast, and I see Aloha āina on your shirt. So I like to know, in your life, how do you keep it aloha? Or keep it aloha āina.
Keep it aloha āina.
Yeah.
I think I like to keep it aloha by authentically living life in the way that I choose, and showing up respectfully to support others in their lifestyle that they choose. And with me, keeping it aloha is sharing food, sharing an energy that comes from the āina to hopefully brighten someone's day. It comes through the mele, right? As I share, I hope that that's impactful on others, and the energy of aloha is been so influential throughout my life that the deepening of what it means to just show up authentically and give and receive that love.
Yeah, awesome. And what about aloha āina? How do you define that?
Love for the land, but as they say, āina, the land which feeds. So for me, it has such a deeper meaning because I'm like in the āina every day and seeing the food and being a part of the growth. So for me, it's like this daily communion with that which will feed, and this relationship that keeps growing with different plants, and a deepening a sense of my purpose, my journey, and how I want to show up for my community, and hopefully sharpening my sword to be more impactful when I'm out sharing and bringing those messages. But aloha āina for me is definitely that daily communion with Mama Earth.
Yeah, Mama Earth, love that. Aloha āina. One of our guests said aloha āina is like our patriotism. Okay, I want to get into a segment because I feel like you'd be the perfect guest for this because of your positive and happy vibes. This is Happiest Life Moments presented by Kolea Sparkling Hot Water, okay?
Okay.
So, you can't always be happy, but you can always be happy with Kolea Sparkling Hot Water. Not an ad. My first question to you is, what is happiness to you?
You know what's epic about you asking me that? I'm having this vision of me being 19 years old, traveling with my backpack by myself, getting asked this very question on the side of the road as I was starting my journey. I think I was in San Diego. At that point, I was like, this, freedom within self to like travel. And I think for me, happiness is a peace of mind where you're like at that space where you can just truly be yourself and not have the inner conflicts happening or any sense of friction, where you're like finding that peace within, which sometimes is hard to really tap into, but to continue that joyfully. I mean, my keiki have definitely been bringing me happiness. As far as like getting in touch with my silly side again, just being like, I'm Papa T-Rex right now and just running around the house, just joyfulness, being able to like let loose and not take life so seriously. at times, I feel like it's so important to just like allow an inner joy to come forth to this radiate happiness without like trying, you know. It's just like
Nice. I was gonna ask you next who brings you happiness, but
yeah.
I guess your kids. I guess what else besides your family brings you happiness?
Oh, I love being in the ocean. So getting a good surf session is like just peace of mind, like just brings me so much joy. I've been, really, yesterday I was actually out at Kaupo and I was just looking at Manana, Rabbit Island, and just like just feeling so grateful. It's just like those moments, you know, because I spend a lot of time in the āina too, which also brings me happiness, but man, I find so much joy just looking out into the horizon and just enjoying what gifts of what he has to offer.
Totally. We live in the best place in the world.
So grateful.
Yeah, so blessed. Okay, and I want you to share a happy moment that you've had this year.
This year. Happy moment.
Or the happiest moment you've had this year so far.
Yeah, you know what's coming to mind when I close my eyes just then is these little excursions with my keiki to a special little spot. And even this past weekend, my daughter's just getting so out. She's just like very outgoing, you know, and my son was looking at the fish in the water, and she was on this rope swing, like swinging out from the water, and I was just pushing her, and just Kelly was in the distance, and it was just us on the beach. Just like, you know, when you have those moments where you're like, shoot, like mental image, this is an epic moment. Like that was definitely one of those moments where you're just like, nothing else matters right now but this. You know, it kind of brings things into perspective, like with where I'm at in life and the little things, and just enjoying that moment.
You know the coolest thing about you saying that is something that I mentioned before is if you think back to our happiest times, you know, a lot of it is childhood, a lot of it was without technology. You talk about like that mental image, like our happiest moments for the most part, they're not on social media. You know,
that's right.
It's just those moments where you're like, oh, I wish that was captured. Or like a lot of times for me these days, it's like I'm having a good conversation with somebody, and I'm just like, instead of like mental picture, I'm like, oh, this should be a podcast. Right? Like I wish this was recorded because this is such a great conversation. But then it's not, and sometimes it doesn't need to be. It's just like that mental image. Like I have so many happy memories in my head from growing up, from playing sports, from just you know, just the past couple weeks where it wasn't recorded, it wasn't you know, shared on social media. It was just for me and my memories, and I think that's so cool. It's like those times when we're just like we could capture, like, you know, like a photograph, freeze time, and it has nothing to do with social media.
I love that. Like breathe and enjoy it. I think that's also a peace of mind too. You don't feel like you got to run to the camera and grab it. Just okay, here I am.
Yeah. So that's like a common thing, you know, when we're watching somebody perform at a concert, watching somebody play, I don't know, at one of their events, we're just always like this now, Right. Nobody's just watching anymore. I'm watching that Court of Gold. It's a Netflix documentary on the Olympics basketball. And then they show the other NBA players watching the other Olympic sports, and everybody's just like this with their phones instead of watching. One of my happiest moments when we just did some episodes in Vegas, we went to the Jabberwockies, that dance group. I don't know if you're familiar with them. They wear the mask. Oh, okay. They're super popular. But I saw them like in middle school or high school when they were on America's Best Dance Group, and I've always wanted to watch them. And when we went to it, you know, our friend that was with us, he's like, "Oh yeah, go record." I'm like, "No, I don't want to." I was so just excited. I didn't even want to touch my phone. I just wanted to enjoy it like how I enjoyed it during childhood. Yes. Where like I wasn't recording the TV. The TV wasn't recording the thing. It was just me watching uninterrupted, enjoying. Totally. So I just miss those moments. It's, you know, few and far between.
Sometimes I'm like,
Yeah.
someone else is recording this.
That's the best. That's the best. when I'm at an event or whatever, I'm just like, oh yeah, record it, tag me so I can share it, so I don't gotta
Yeah.
post it and all of that.
Totally.
Okay, last one. What about Hawaii brings you happiness?
Yeah. I've always just appreciated the connection of like the driving down the road kind where you throw shakos, where there's this like deeper sense of like appreciation and respect towards each other, especially in a community that you've grown up in, where there's this energy that's passed around, that's tangible, where they say the spirit of aloha, where you go to some parts of the world, you might not feel that tangible energy as much. It's like, I think because I've integrated in, a lifestyle here, it's like these connections that we have, within community and within the surroundings of the community, just appreciating where we're at, and also appreciating, the community around us, the connections, showing love. Yeah, I love that. And you can just like throw shakas to the stranger.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
You just get the little head nod like that, yeah.
How's it?
Yeah.
There was also, when I had the Vita bus, there was like this unwritten law, like, you just gotta.
yeah. That you get the extra cool style points. Right on. All right, thanks for sharing all that. That was Happiest Life Moments presented by Kolea Sparkling Hot Water. Remember, we can't always be happy, but we can always be happy. And this is not an ad, just remember that. All right, coming to the back end of the podcast, and I just want to know, what in life are you most grateful for?
Right now, I would say I was supported to be able to make the leaps of into the unknown of becoming a musician and a farmer by my family, that are so valuable to be able to take those steps, and not knowing or understanding maybe what I was doing at the time, but trusting that I was solid enough to like have my head on my shoulders to find joy and passion in what I do. To have somebody who supports you is so valuable in this time. No matter what, even if there's challenges or they don't see fully what you're doing, but to be like, okay, this brings you joy, this brings you passion. I'm going to support you in that, and sometimes it was financial for my parents, of like just help jumpstart me in certain directions. And really, I think though, it was just like the love, the support, to be like, yeah, I got you. You got our support, And I was like, Dad, I'm just going to like travel from Mexico to Canada with my guitar on my back. I'm dropping out of college. And he's like, all right, have fun. Call us,
Yeah.
Gave me the opportunity to make that leap a little more easier, because it's not always easy to do it on your own, and then when someone's like, okay, if that's what you want to do, just so grateful for that support, because that helped catapult a projection of like a deepening in my self-confidence to make things happen. And I think really that's important in this time, as we move forward and we're doing things, or our own entrepreneurial missions. It's like, you got to build that self-confidence, and to have a backbone that's like, we got you. So valuable.
Yeah,
so grateful.
I agree. I have a similar, I guess, experience. But my senior year of high school, I left Hilo and I came to Oahu to live by myself, just to play sports. And then I studied abroad a couple of times, and then I was like, hey, parents, I'm gonna live in Madagascar for 2 years volunteering, right? And they're always just so supportive, and like it does make a difference when there's no pushback, when they just trust that you're making the best decision for yourself. Because I think in life we question ourselves enough.
Definitely.
So when there's extra added pressure of other people questioning your decision,
right,
that really takes a toll on somebody,
For sure.
I think I'm not trying to air out my girlfriend's life, but like, her life is a little different where mine's where, you know, she questions a lot more things because as a child, you know, she had more pushback doing things, just the way that her parents raised her, you know, and the experiences that she had. So it's different from mine. So those things come out as an adult, you know, where when we talk about self-confidence or just like doing things without like questioning yourself, because it's so important for us as, you know, people and like family relationships to just like support people, no matter what they want to do. Unless, you know, they're doing something really stupid,
you
of
gotta
course,
step in.
let's vocalize.
That's also important. You gotta check each other.
Let's like hold people accountable. But when it's certain things, just like being supportive and like trusting that, you know, you trust them enough that they're gonna make the right decision.
That's right.
Yeah, and I'm realizing as I get older and I talk with more people and you know, who are just friends or just like on this podcast, that support from when you're a child, from your family, from your friends, from your immediate environment is so important.
So important.
Yeah.
I'm seeing that right now with my keiki, and it was so precious. I got to share because it happened a few days ago. We're very supportive. You know, we show up. You know, you got this. You know, and my daughter's 3.5, and my son was on the mulch pile, like trying to jump to the other mulch pile. And she's just like full cheerleader for him. Like, you got it, brother.
Yeah.
I'm here for you. Like, you can do this. Like, just hearing her and being like, oh, it's a proud parent moment that my 3.5-year-old, you know, I guess that's a win for us as parents, you know, and that must be what we're saying to her. So it's like, it was just so precious the other day.
I love that, yeah.
She's supporting her 2-year-old brother to leap from mulch pile to mulch pile.
Yeah.
I'm like, sometimes they're like, you know, you got to keep an eye on them. I try to let them do dangerous things safely. You know, that's kind of how I want to raise my children. But at a certain point, you got to you definitely keep an eye. You know.
That makes me think of the videos of my brother. He has three kids, and then my sister has 2 kids. And they go to the park and they send videos of like the kids jumping out off the rocks.
Oh yeah.
Stuff like that, and
he wants to jump off everything.
Yeah, I'm just like, oh, that's kind of sketchy, but I guess. Okay. So how does the next, 5, 10, 20 plus years look like for you? What's your goals?
Yeah.
Get into acting, maybe.
You know what?
Rekindle that passion.
Wow. Totally. Anything's possible. I really feel like stepping into that sense of myself. You know, this is my last run in the 30s. I'm 39, so I'm like about to step into my 40s. And I'm feeling this like deepening of purpose, this kind of strengthening of confidence. At the same time, still trying to do my own personal trauma works, being real with the things that do hold me back, but trying to face them in a way to work through it, face it, and continue forward. So yeah, as I step forward with the plans for 5-10 years, it's really about just deepening a sense of self more, so that I can show up more for my community, so that I can show up more for my keiki. And these are like little practices too, just at home, is really trying to get more of a discipline in my life, so that I'm sharper, clearer when I show up. That's going to help all my relationships moving forward. And I see that, and I value that so much, because I see when it's not in alignment, out of frequency, I'm not connected, and the disruption that can cause versus like being connected. So yeah, as I see the farm grow, I hope to just hold strong space for that. And as the mystery of life starts to reveal what wants to happen, and maybe I step into this thing, I can do it with more confidence and more of a sense of purpose for hopefully a greater vision, which always for me encapsulates, connection to Mama Earth, connection to community. And yeah, I'm excited for what is to come. Like, what's that gonna bring, because I'm gonna keep growing food, I'm gonna keep playing music. I feel like I got those locked in, and I'm excited for collaborations. I'm excited for just more growth, fruit trees in the ground, stepping up for what it means to show up and adapt to what's needed on a farm life, as well as what's needed in my musical life too. I'm exploring going back to Europe for the second time this year, which is kind of a big deal. So like this chunk is going to be the longest I'll have ever been away from my family. So yes, continuing to find balance within these things that I've already created to be my life missions, and to see how they want to ebb and flow over the next 20 years. I feel like I'm just going to step deeper into that. Someone said to me the other day, like, in 20 years, you're going to be almost 60. I was like, wow, okay. You know, just like realizing that time is precious and that we need to enjoy it each moment. I think I have at times been really self-critical and judgmental, and can be ruminate on things. And I really want to just recognize these things, but also like step through to a place of healing for myself and yeah. So for a long-winded answer of the next up to 20 years, I really just want to step deeper into the mystery and confidence and
more self-growth, more growth, everything.
Yeah, let that garden grow.
Yeah, let them grow.
Like we say, Yogarden is growing. You know? And Yogarden for me just represents that inner garden too. You know, like the combination of yoga and garden. That's what it originally felt like. Was like, not only am I growing the garden, but I'm also growing that inner garden.
Mm-hmm. You know, one of our past podcast guests brought us the perspective of the vertical āina. It's like, you know, us, you know, we take care of the āina itself, you know, that's super important. But let's not forget about the vertical āina, you know, everything that's going on over here.
I love that.
Yeah.
So important.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so what is one thing you wish people knew about you that they don't?
Whoa. That's a good question.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite questions to ask.
One thing they know about me.
Yeah.
They don't.
It could be something you think people misunderstand about you. You know, something you wish people knew about you that they don't.
You know, I think what can happen, especially in an image of being a positive, optimistic guy, you know, I'm kind of just touching on this, but I think it's important to share. Like I go through my own challenges. Like mental health is so important, and I think sometimes when I post, and I've tried to be a little more real with this, especially now in my life, because it's so important to show up for each other, to let people know they're not alone in their mental health challenges. That I have depressive days, you know, I have days where I'm struggling mentally, that I need to, I've had days where I'm like in tears on the ground, like just trying to figure out what my next step is, you know, complete overload. But those moments were so necessary. Like the seed needs the darkness to then sprout, right? Mm-hmm. Those periods of like being super vulnerable and letting emotions out are crucial for my growth. So I guess what people might not know me is that, yeah, I have darker days, that I go through depressive energy that I need to call upon a brother or a sister to like deeply process things. I've cried in the arms of several friends who are there to like hold and support me, to be vulnerable. And I want to be that for others, you know, as well. So yeah, allowing myself to be vulnerable and real with some of my mental health challenges, you know.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Awesome. One of my favorite things that I've heard, it was something like they tried to bury me, but they didn't know that I was a tree or like a seed or something.
Yeah, I love,
you know, I think it's like a quote or something, but basically, yeah, like you bury me, but like what, you gotta bury your seeds for it to grow.
Oh, that's
so yeah. There's another one that I can't think of, but I save all these quotes on my Instagram.
Like the, you know, the mud in the lotus one, where it's like, you know, the lotus to blossom, become this beautiful flower. The lotus needs the mud, needs to be down.
Yeah.
Like just those kind of analogies.
Yeah, those are so good. Yeah.
And I'm like, I totally relate. Like sometimes I'm like, what is going on? But this is like the muck that I need to like break through. You know, and our breakthrough processes can be so valuable to others. You know, allowing our journeys because we're in this together. It's a human experience. Like we gotta really feel that connection more. Whereas like my work is your work. You know, as we're doing this unique dance, which is unique to our life. There's actually a lot of similarities that people end up going through that when we get together and we can process and talk story through, it's very helpful, you know, in breaking away, you know, the traumas and stepping into our higher selves.
Yeah, that's why I love this.
Yeah.
And what I tell people when they ask me, what have you learned? Is that we're all the same. We all have anxiety. We all have depressive moments. We all have happy moments. We have successes. We have failures. We have everything that every other human does. And we go through things that every other human does, you know, in different extremes.
Right.
You know, whether that's loss, grief, you know, extreme happiness. Doesn't matter on the money, the fame, the followers. We all have the same emotions as all other humans. So, yeah.
And to really honor that in each other.
Yeah,
you know, to
totally.
like, hey, when it's time for you to like really feel, like I'm going to show up for you and like hold space for you to feel what you need to. I think that's what stepping into this next chapter with community is really important, because we all got things to unpack and process. If we can like show up, hold space for others, that's valuable.
Yeah, I agree. Awesome. That's a great way to start closing out the podcast. But I can't let you go just yet. I gotta know, what is your life hack?
Okay, I'm gonna keep with the theme. Food is thy medicine. You know, farms before pharmaceuticals. Health is wealth. You know, just having that pharmacy in the backyard can be so valuable. It's just changed my life so much that and I'm still learning so much about it. But there's so many little life hacks within that. Okay, 2 side little hacks off that bigger hack. Man, if you have a sweet tooth like I do, and Keiki who like something sweet, dried bananas are the best.
I love that.
Just get a dehydrator.
I'm excited to try that after.
Kamaka's gonna let you know how epic it is. It's just been one of these things. It's just been a huge part of my life. It's like so much better than fruit roll-ups growing up. You know, it's just this natural snack that we can have wherever we go. My family loves dried bananas. Second side hack would be the noni tree, which is amazing for its medicinal properties. It's very strong, scented fruit, sugarless fruit. Definitely grow that specifically for medicine, but side bonus, the sturdiness of the noni leaf make epic plates. So if you want to, like, many times during gatherings, Kelly's been like, oh, wash like 30 noni leaves. And then I'll just rinse them off. And then we have, like, especially for cake and desserts, like just having a noni leaf to serve on.
That's so cool.
Crucial.
No need to go Costco buy out of paper plates.
Yeah, no need worry.
That's awesome. One thing I was thinking about, totally forgot to bring it up until you talked about health as well. I'm listening to the Almanac of Naval Ravikant, an audiobook. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's this like angel investor, but he got really big for his like philosophy and like Twitter rants about like how to get rich without getting lucky. And he's like this guy he was born in I believe India or something, and then came here, and he talks about just like having all these skills that were, if he was born in any place, he could be successful because of like the skills that he has or something. But he's this really philosophical guy, and the chapter that I'm on is happiness. And he talks about the 3 pillars are wealth, happiness, and health. Sorry. Wealth, happiness, and health. And that's usually the order in which we prioritize it, but it should be reversed. Where it should be health, happiness, and then wealth.
There we go.
And this, us talking about that, it's, you know, I feel like the timing of this conversation and me listening to that, like literally last night before bed, you know, him mentioning that, I think it's like something that we should, reflect on and think about that. You know, it's like my life is great. And the one thing that is not great is my health, you know, with all these injuries and stuff. And like, you could have all the greatest things in the world, but if you're not healthy, if you're, you got aches and pains, if you have to take medicine every single day, you know, your life isn't going to be great. You know, Steve Jobs, so successful, super rich. The one thing that money couldn't buy, health. You know, and that's why it's the stuff that you're doing and focusing on your body, the āina, vertical āina, and, you know, our āina. So important. It's so inspiring and something that I got to stop talking about and start doing more.
Well, so, come visit us in the back roads of Waimanalo.
Yeah. Where you grow your kalo,
That's
kalo.
where I grow my kalo.
All right. I just have my last 35 questions. These are rapid fire answers. Okay, then we're going to wrap up. All right. So first question is favorite food to grow.
Ooh, favorite food to grow. Favorite food to grow would probably be, wow, I have so many running through my head right now.
You can say all of them.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Honestly, my favorite foods to start planting with is the kalo, the banana, and papaya, because those will, you know, within the year you'll be eating from that.
Cool.
I really love just the representation of ohana and the dancing hearts of the kalo plant. Like, it's just definitely a magical one to like when it's everything's happy and yeah, just like promotes positivity.
Yeah. And when it's windy, you see them kapalili in the wind, like that. Yeah. Okay. Favorite childhood snack.
Childhood snack would definitely be some kind of deli food. Oh, pickles. For
sure.
Pickles. Still my favorite snack.
Yeah. My girlfriend loves pickles.
Man, my dad would have just basically a whole tray full, and just like as you walk by, either way, just grab a pickle. Like,
do you make your own?
It's been a while, but I definitely made my own pickles.
Oh, okay, cool. My girlfriend likes the like Grillo pickles. I don't know if you ever heard of that brand.
What is it? Brittle?
Grillos, or I think that's what it's called.
Sonoma Brinery is really good. Sometimes get those.
Cool. Okay, favorite way to recharge.
Definitely an ocean dip is my biggest one, or just breathing, sitting and breathing on the āina. Those two for sure, equally charging.
Okay, cool. Favorite TV show or movie? Do you even watch TV shows or movies?
Yeah. Being in film school and stuff was like definitely. I think growing up, actually, just the story of Forrest Gump and just like him, just. You're
more Castaway than Forrest Gump.
Yeah, right. Definitely. I always appreciated the Forrest Gump story. He's just like navigating life, and it's just like happening and falling into his lap, and just the simplicity of it. That was always
that's a good one.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, and last one. Favorite travel destination.
You know, man, recently. Just going to Europe, I saw some amazing settings. Portugal was incredible. Bali has been incredible. Has a big place in my heart. Did a surf trip there when I was 19. And actually, wow, something that came to mind that I haven't thought of in a minute is Virgin Gorda in the Caribbean. I was a part of a sailing adventure just at 2 weeks. With some good brothers, and we did I did 7 islands with them in just 2 weeks, and it was incredible. But man, one of these places, Virgin Gorda, was just so pristine. You go underwater, and I mean, just more vivid than I had ever seen, like snorkeling, you know, and the colors of fish. So that just popped into my mind.
Oh, that's super cool. Virgin Gorda. Okay, cool. Right on. Well, that's all we got for you today. Mahalo so much for coming into our studio, talking stories, sharing your mana or your life story with us. Is there anything else you want to share? If not, tell us where we can find you.
Totally. Yeah. So actually, one exciting show that's coming up is going to happen on May 31st. I'm opening for Clinton Fearon, who's one of my favorite artists, reggae artists of all time. He's giving a musical offering at Hawaiian Brian's, but that's the side room, the Slack Key Lounge. So if you're hearing this and you want to come see both of us jam, I go and see him every year. And just a couple days ago, I got asked to open for him, which is
so
like
cool.
huge honor to be asked to.
Congrats.
And he's an elder reggae artist who's just holding it strong. So
Mhm.
that's happening soon. And again, like come visit us at the āina work days every Thursday. It's from 9 to 12 and it's from 4 to 6. So I do 2 work parties. Just come. All are welcome. We're always working on different projects. And right now I have so much olena coming out of the ground. So again, if anybody needs the plant medicine, reach out to us either on social media as Yogarden Hawaii or yogardenhawaii.com and see what else we're doing in the community there. If you want to see where I'm jamming, or if you know anybody in Europe for my Europe travel coming up, just send them to my website, Paul Isaac Music. Yeah.
Right on. Well, excited to follow more of your journey and definitely gonna come out once I'm healthy over there. Maybe
so.
after finishing that
There you
olena
go.
powder,
Be ready to
I'll
go.
be good to go.
Yeah, but you need re-up too. So
Yeah, I'll come for a refill. Well, mahalo, Paul, for joining us on the Keep It Low podcast. Spread love, be kind to one another, and mahalo for listening to us today. We have new episodes every Thursday, so make sure you follow us and leave a review. I'm your host, Kamaka, and remember to always keep it aloha.